Okay, let's go ahead and get started. So hello everyone and welcome to today's webinar, Standardization and Automation for Improved Efficiency, sponsored by PAS, Professional Accounting Solutions. I am Victoria Schaefer, Senior Membership Manager at HFTP. Before we begin, I'd like to go over a few items about the HFTP webinar today. Today's session is being recorded. Webinars are educational discussions offered in a non-sales environment. Product promotion or sales pitches through the chat feature are not allowed. We will post the HFTP's antitrust statement in the chat. There is a speaker view option on the Zoom platform if you wish to see the slides full screen. If you are collecting continuing education credit today, please note that you will need to self-report your credit for this webinar through your HFTP account. In this session, we will explore how standardization and automation enable you to spot trends before they become issues and reduce risk in your everyday transactions. Our panelists will share their experiences with standardization and automation and the impact they have made in their organization. Gayle Edwards of PAS is today's moderator. Panelists include Tina Newberry of Aimbridge Hospitality, Emad Hussain, CPA of Four Seasons Hotels and Resorts, Wendy Mertz of Hard Rock International, and Renee Thomas of Hilton Worldwide. Gayle Edwards has more than 30 years of experience in hospitality industry, encompassing operations, IT, consulting, and accounting. Gayle is Vice President and Managing Director for Professional Accounting Solutions, an affiliation that began when she was a PAS client as a regional controller. She lives in Greater Orlando, where she serves as on the board of the Mid-Florida HFTP chapter. This year, as chapter secretary, when asked her favorite vacation spot, she says it's a tie between London and Hawaii. Tina Newberry is Vice President of Central Accounting for Aimbridge Hospitality, which is a leading global third-party hotel management company. At Aimbridge, she leads a central accounting team that handles the accounting services for more than 170 properties. In addition, Tina guides the WLEAD, Women's Leadership Empowerment and Development Communications Committee, which assists women at Aimbridge to communicate and achieve their professional career goals. Her favorite vacation spot is Los Cabos, Mexico, but she loves Orlando, Florida as well. Emad Hussain has been with Four Seasons Hotels and Resorts for 15 years. His current role as Senior Director, Operations Finance, he oversees global hotel reporting and analytics, back office accounting, procurement, and integration systems. Emad also manages the Operations Review Program, helping hotels optimize performance and profitability. His favorite vacation spot is Florence, Italy. Wendy Mertz joined Hard Rock in 2000, where she directed the implementation of a variety of systems and created the system standards for Hard Rock hotels. In her current role, she is responsible for non-gaming applications for Seminole Gaming, Hard Rock Hotels and Casinos, and Hard Rock Cafe. When able to travel, she loves to vacation in Europe. Renee Thomas is Senior Director of Portfolio Management at Hilton, where she oversees strategy and initiatives for hotel financial systems. Previously, she led the Americas Financial Analysis and Business Support team that manages operational and financial reporting for Hilton's 300-plus Americas hotel portfolio. When she has free time, Renee said she loves to vacation anywhere there's a Conrad or Waldorf Astoria. I'm pleased to hand this session over to Gayle and PAS.
Thanks, Victoria. So welcome, everyone. We're glad to have you today. As Victoria said, the session is being sponsored by PAS. PAS is the preferred provider of back office accounting solutions. We've been implementing Infor Sun systems and Infor DEPM systems, so back office financials and USALI compliant platform for really the last 30 years. So looking forward to hearing today from our panel group in regards to some of the challenges that they have faced as we've gone through, especially as we've gone through all the changes with COVID. A lot of us have faced challenges with reduction in force, right? And how do we continue to maintain control and standards in that kind of environment? So Victoria's already introduced our panel. So really without any further ado, I'd like to get to the first question for today. And so question number one, if we can advance the slides, is really about risk. So COVID-19 has brought risk to the surface, right, across the board, as we've all faced reduction in force, fewer people in place to be able to actually handle all the appropriate segregation of duties in some cases. So we want to talk about how has standardization helped you identify where you had risk in your operations. And Renee, I'd like to start with you.
Thanks, Gayle. Well, I'm going to talk a little bit about how our global standard code block really helped us when COVID came along. So with most of our operations on the new global code block, we're able to consolidate and analyze to not only identify, opportunities to save in costs, but also run the many scenarios, for the revenue uptick, that we hope and expect to come after COVID. So we were able, with all of the data in the right place, right, with all of our standard accounts and departments and products, we were able to run those various scenarios to start planning for the rest of this year and 2021. We also have in our code block very smart and intelligent numbering in our code block, with also natural gaps, right? So even if we don't have the right account, say furlough, in our code block, that's something we can quickly accommodate in the code block. So I would say the standardization in our accounting code block is really what has helped us analyze the results and plan for the comeback and recovery.
Awesome. You guys have really worked really hard to standardize that code block across the globe as well. So it's really been great to see that moving forward with your team. So, Emad, let's move on to you. How would you say that your standardization, and I know you've been working hard at really getting your arms around some of that personally as well. What would you say has been a strength for you as moving forward with standardization?
Well, Gayle, as you know, before COVID came along as well, we had a little bit of a turnover in our systems positions, and it's really helped us to have a lot of standardization in place. And similar to what Renee said, we have a standard chart of accounts across the board, which we've had implemented in all of our properties, and that really helps manage things. As well, we do have a couple of back office accounting systems in place, so having one system as a major player across most of our properties really helps us get our arms around it, both when it comes to turnover in staffing, as well as when you come across situations such as the pandemic currently, to be able to get a handle on things, as well as to be able for someone to step into it and try to get an understanding of how things work and piece them together. So standardization definitely helps on all accounts there.
Excellent. And yeah, you did definitely have some challenges in turnover right at the beginning of this. So I'm sure it was very helpful to have a guide to follow across the board as you replace some of those positions. So excellent. Okay. Tina, can you tell us a little bit about how standardization has been helping at Aimbridge?
Yes, as to Emad's point, we've had turnover as well due to COVID, and the standardization of our month-end close process has greatly impacted others to pick up the slack of those that we lost in the process. And we standardized the month-end checklist. We have a standardization of our bank reconciliations and our balance sheet reconciliations, as well as the revenue coming from our properties. All of the systems go to one platform, which we standardized about 2 years ago. And so the loss of staff at our properties was definitely a challenge, as well as business dropped. And so that standardization of the revenue capture into our system at the corporate office definitely was a huge benefit, so that the limited staff at the properties could maintain business and not have to worry about the revenue coming in, because it was pretty much automated and standardized at that point. And so that was a huge benefit as well.
you definitely went through a process where you not only standardized your chart of accounts across the board, but also, you know, how you were collecting the data, right? That whole automation project has gone through. Has that been especially helpful in locations, especially where hotels were closed?
Definitely. So what we did, as Gayle mentioned, we actually took our brands, because we have multiple brands as a management company. So for example, Fosse PMS systems, we standardized the mapping of those posting codes to a specific GL account so that it was consistent across the board for the entire company. And so for comparison purposes, business analytics, operations could do a good job in making sure everybody was the same and could measure up to each of the properties. And so that was a huge undertaking. And so at this point in time, a property cannot just add a PMS code and map it to wherever they want. There we have a process, a standard process that they let us know of a new PMS code and we map it for them. And then that is set across the entire company. So it's definitely a standardization process for sure.
Excellent, excellent. And definitely things seem to be moving along really well with that with Aimbridge. So it's very nice to see.
Yes,
Okay.
Thank you.
And Wendy, last but certainly not least, tell us about Hard Rock.
Well, I guess we've been doing some work with standardization in a few different areas. I mean, no different than everybody else. We've obviously had some reduction in staff, and we have been working to combine some systems at a corporate level. That has helped from a support aspect. And then when you get into the global aspect, you know, of the properties themselves, it is helping from a reporting perspective and take any guesswork out of, you know, when people are evaluating the data, it takes the guesswork out of it. And, you know, we are also continuing with, you know, no different than what Tina said, we are putting in shells and standards, whether it's in the PMS or in the accounting system, so that way the data is flowing and mapping correctly. And those are projects that are just continued ongoing that we've been doing throughout the pandemic.
Awesome, awesome. And you've been continuing to open hotels as well throughout this as well. So it's been interesting to see, you know, how that's been helpful to say, well, here's the shell, right? Here's the standard. Let's just drop this in and then make any minor tweaks according to that.
Yep, yep, that's true. We've been fortunate. We've opened a few hotels, and I would say also opened it partially. So maybe the restaurant's open, but the hotel isn't. So you know, the standards in that aspect has helped as well.
Awesome, awesome. So Victoria, I think we actually have a poll question in regards to this. We could do at this point.
Let me get there. Can everybody see it?
Yes, it's up.
Okay, perfect.
So if we could just have everyone respond to the poll, and then Victoria will get us the results in regards to that. Interesting to see what the rest of you are facing as well.
We're getting some results in right now. Leave it up for just a few more seconds so that you can get your answers in there. Okay, 3, 2, 1. I'm going to end the polling and share the results. Does everybody see that?
Yep, absolutely. So interesting to see that roughly 50% of you have indicated that you have had challenges in trying to find ways to maintain segregation of duty. Definitely a challenge across the entire industry when you go from a full staff down to a much smaller staff, just trying to keep those controls in place. So also nice for everyone to know you're not alone in that challenge as well. So definitely can be frustrating. Okay, so question number 2 that we have for our panel today is really in regards to payment processes. So payment processes that really have been affected globally, both mechanically and in regards to terms, right? So people looking for longer than 30-day terms, and in regards to you know, us as trying to make a payment, and then all of us as well in regards to receiving payment from our clients. And so there's the process of, you know, having to kind of manage that deferred period of time for getting payment in, and then also mechanically actually processing the payment, right? Especially when you were not able to go into an office in locations and in countries where we're still doing a lot of payment by check. Somebody goes into the office, cuts the checks, you know, somebody has to do first process signing or second process signing, or you have the electronic bank key to key in and actually process payments, all of which has suddenly become, you know, hazardous for us all to be together. So the question really is what have you done to accommodate this kind of naturally required virtual office for the process of making payments? And so Tina, let's start with you this time.
Well, unfortunately, we do a lot of payments via the physical check for our accounts payable. And so we were not able to completely go virtual with our payment process. So to accommodate safety, we had a rotation staff go into the office and process checks and maintain distance. And so that part, unfortunately, we just didn't have the means to do that. Part of what we did do as a benefit, probably about a year and a half ago, is we added the signature via the computer and its approval process. So if a check is over $10,000, it sends a notification to certain individuals to approve, and their signature is added to as a second signature for the larger payments. Luckily, we did that before COVID because we were physically signing every check before that implementation, and it would have been a nightmare. So we had a blessing and still trying to navigate the physical world as well. That's the payment process. From a collection standpoint, from an AR, we had to do some implementation of weekly collection efforts that involved our operations team and our accounting team. Obviously, with pretty much 86% of revenue falling out immediately with COVID, payments to Aimbridge stopped almost automatically. And so we had to work with our owners one-on-one to establish payment plans, give them a little bit of stretch in terms just to get the process flowing. And so as we reached out to each of the owners and developed that process with them, we started seeing funds come to Aimbridge. And so that was a really good process to implement. And now it will be a standard weekly, let's call it accounts receivable meeting with the teams. And then on top of that, the other thing we had to add is a safety net per se. And we have a payroll funding deposit that we've collected from each owner. So we basically took it out of their operating account and added it to a payroll deposit account. And so we're holding 2 weeks payroll for every hotel in that account in case the hotel, for whatever reason, has to close immediately, or the owner just ceases to do business with us. We can fund the last payroll for our team because obviously we want the staff to be paid rightfully so. And so that is definitely a change that, because of COVID, has incurred.
Makes a lot of sense. I think, Victoria, I think I saw a question come in for Tina.
Yes. Okay. So that we have a question for Tina. What platform did Tina use to help with her approval process or second signature?
We actually use JD Edwards, and it's part of that software program, and it's built in the process. We just never utilized it until fairly recently.
Great. Okay. Wendy, let's go to you next.
Well, from a few different places, when it comes to the corporate office, we still generate a lot of paper checks. So, you know, like Tina, we had people coming into the office. It was limited staff. They would cycle in and out, but, you know, they were coming into the office. And then when you go globally, you know, we are still bound by whatever some of these local regulations are. So some of them we will automate where we can. Other places it is manual effort to transfer files up to the banks for payments. But we continue to look where we can to automate our interfaces.
Awesome. Okay. And Emad, you actually had a pretty strong push throughout your properties for some automation during this. Can you tell us about what's going on at Four Seasons?
Sure. We actually also work with a third-party business process provider. So that has helped as well during this process because they're centralized and they're able to really do the AP for about, I'd say 60% of our properties. And through that process, we haven't been impacted by any changes in staffing, as well as having standard processes that are processed from a central location. Coinciding with that as well. So that helps with both the check signings and then also the electronic payments, depending on which properties are signed up with whichever option, depending on the regulations in place where they are. And at the same time, we've also tried to make a push to have electronic payments put in place, and just to get that going for a lot of our hotels, just because that is easier, and you have tighter controls around it as well.
Excellent. And yeah, you definitely had some locations that we pushed pretty quickly to get that electronic payment in place for them as well. So it does seem to have helped. How about from a collections standpoint in regards to kind of cash management?
It's very similar to what Tina was saying. It's just working with our stakeholders and our owners and asset managers to determine where we may have some risks, or and just work on it on a case by case basis. And every hotel has their own situation that they're working through.
Okay, great. And Renee, all you.
Yeah, I'm going to echo a lot of what everyone else said. I mean, in hospitality, we certainly have a lot of printed checks at the hotels. Even, my goodness, the dot matrix printers. So those are the best. So, we have, even before COVID, we're working to automate some of the payment processing and moving to more, e-banking solutions to reduce the physical check printing. That's been going on for a while. We'll continue working on that. Now, some general ledger systems are more eloquent than others when it comes to integrating with a bank. And for those that are less eloquent, there's add-ons that are required to support that e-banking. So, there's off-the-shelf software options that we've used, and there's also, custom options from a support partner, like PAS, that are often required depending on the GL system if it doesn't have that native functionality to integrate with the bank. So that's something we have been working on and we continue to work on, is to try to get more, what we call e-banking, more automated payment processing to get away from printed checks where possible.
Awesome. And then how about from a collection standpoint and cash management? I know you guys have been working really diligently to keep a good handle on that, especially through APEC region.
Yes, that is a constant work in progress, depending on the country or the owner. I will certainly say that is certainly vary across the globe.
Very hands-on request or process at that point in time, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes, agree.
Yep. Okay. Victoria, I think we have another poll question.
Okay. Okay, can everybody see it? Have you had to make changes to your payment processing procedure since COVID-19? People are responding. Okay, they're coming in. All right, we're going to end it in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. There's the shared results.
Okay, so interesting. So 50% roughly not making changes to your payment processes, but a good 40% having challenges in delaying payments. I think that that's probably been the case more globally than anything in regards to that payment delay. So, okay, great. Well, let's move on to our next question. So, moving now back kind of into standardization and automation. The question here is have you automated your daily audit files, right? And so every hotel everywhere does an income audit, right? So have you automated your daily audit files? And if so, how has this improved your reporting and efficiencies within your operation? So let's start with Renee.
So, this is a big question. And, I've spent time in both finance and technology at Hilton, more so on the technology side. So you'll hear me talk about integrations a lot. So there's so much to do here. I mean, I think there's, we're in a journey with the daily audit files, but, a current focus right now is integrations. I'm a big proponent of automating integrations. And we do have some manual touch points, with the daily audit file. And what we want to move to is eliminating those manual touch points, just from an efficient, but also
We lost Renee there.
But I think maybe we did. I wasn't sure if it was just me.
Yeah, I wasn't sure either. So, okay. Well, we'll wait until she comes back. We'll give her a chance to come back to her topic. But Emad, why don't we move on to you while we're waiting for Renee to come back around?
I think maybe I can tell the same story that Renee might have been telling, but we have been trying to integrate a lot of our systems and just to take out the manual work effort out of that and improve some efficiencies. Just with the number of systems that we have in place, it takes a while to be able to get everything going, and of course there's a different configuration at each hotel, so to be able to first standardize it and then to build in an integration takes a little bit of time. So there are a couple that we had on tap for this year. Unfortunately, we've had to put those on hold just because of the circumstances that everyone is dealing with. But really, it comes down to standardization is the first step. And as I mentioned before, we're working with a third-party business process provider. That helped us tremendously to standardize a lot of our processes where they're being used. And then being able to use that as a template for our hotels which are doing their income audit by themselves, to then be able to run their standardized income audit in that format. So then we take it to an integration standpoint, automate those, and then try and get there. So what this really allows us to do is take out some of that manual effort and sort of the mundane work out of loading things manually, and then really be able to focus our energies on analytical processes and trying to look for insights in our information rather than actually having to spend time putting it all together.
Excellent, excellent. And yes, I do think you're going down largely the same path Renee was. I see she's made it back, so let's let her finish as well. Renee?
I don't know where I cut off, but again, I was just talking about the manual process and automating the daily audit files into the GL and making that touchless. We're looking at every opportunity wherever we have those manual steps to automate the file movement. So users aren't downloading files and uploading them to another system. You can use, there's a lot of off-the-shelf software systems like, AutoSys, they can move files over between servers and environments. You can avoid those manual touch points. So that's our focus. Again, it's a journey with the daily audit files. There's a lot to do, automated reconciliation, so many opportunities, but our step right now is automating that file transfer and reducing the manual touch points from a security and efficiency perspective.
Awesome, awesome. And Tina, let's talk about you because you have a big automation program that works for your daily at Aimbridge.
We do. As the largest management company globally, we obviously have many, many, many different PMS systems. And so obviously no two are the same. And so we actually undertook a huge endeavor in automated as much as possible with each PMS system. We have quite a few that are a direct feed. It's an automation between the PMS directly to our general ledger system. We have a hybrid, as I call it, where a CSV file or an Excel file is sent to a third party. PAS has helped us, and they convert that data into a feed that comes over. And in both those scenarios, the property literally doesn't touch the data. And so that's probably about 80% of our franchises. Some of our franchises just don't have the capability to integrate in that fashion. So we still do a lot of daily input from the properties. That's how the revenue stream comes along. The other part, which is really cool and has been very helpful, is that the files are also automated. In several systems, it actually, when Night Audit runs, it pushes all of the daily files to a drive that all of our accounting team and corporate can access. And if they don't have that automation, there is an email that the properties will email the files, and then that will get pushed to a drive as well. And so we have the benefit of having every single day's PMS reports in a local drive that accounting can utilize for research. If something's out of balance, they can easily get to it without reaching out to the property, letting the properties manage the business. We do our accounting work, as well as when we do external audits for our owners. If there is any type of walkthrough processes, we have the actual reports at our fingertips that we can quickly access and use for audit reasons. And so that in alone, having those files available has been a huge plus, and we have benefited greatly. And it's a definitely time saver from a labor standpoint as well. We can quickly just move on and get it done.
And your hotels are largely on a centralized accounting platform as well. So
correct.
Especially helpful to have all that data moving directly right through the integration platform, right into that file location.
Absolutely.
On a nightly basis.
Yes.
So excellent. We had a lot of fun doing that project with you, actually.
Huge undertaking, but the results have been amazing.
Yeah, really happy with that. So great. Okay, and let's see, who did I miss? Wendy.
Yeah, I'm going to repeat some of what everybody else has said. I mean, we walk into our properties looking to automate the integrations as much as we can. We've leveraged some PAS integrations. We also use some reconciliation tools back at the corporate office here, so that way we can see where the issues are, as opposed to combing through the specs of data to make sure that they're all lined up with it, pops the issues out to us. But the whole goal is to reduce the amount of manual keying where possible.
Awesome. Okay. And Victoria, I think we have another poll question.
Okay, and we are going to the next poll question. And there it is at, but what are your main objectives over the next 12 months? What would you like to see implemented? Giving everybody a chance to get their answers in there. Okay, people are registering their responses. Okay, we are going to end it in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, and there are your results.
Okay, so 22% of you looking to implement payment automation. Excellent. 17% looking to implement daily reporting automation. 22% looking to implement balance sheet automation. That's with balance sheet reconciliation. And then you have some other, and some folks who aren't sure what exactly they feel they need to do. So from that perspective, we're actually going to go back around the panel now, and really the question is really for all of you. And so Wendy, we're going to go backwards. I'm going to start with you. What are your main automation objectives over the next 12 months? And what would you like to see implemented to best help your enterprise?
You know, our goal, as strange as this might sound, is honestly about just getting the data in a spot. And then once we have the data in a spot, offer mechanisms to report off the data and identifying the different user sets. Because depending on where you are, whether you're at the property or corporate office, and then what role you are, you want your data differently. So we do have some projects going on right now to do that data collection and then come up with that appropriate reporting strategy so we can then turn around and disperse it back out to the rest of the organization. That's probably one of the biggest things we've got going on.
And you really are collecting data, all different kinds of data from all around the globe, and your teams are consolidating that in utilizing it in different combinations, right? So is that something that really is driven more by a need out of the corporate office, or is that a request that you've seen coming more out of the field, or what's really driving that determination to kind of create a central data lake, if you will, with all of your data? Is that really kind of everyone?
You know, it's a little of both. I mean, some of it is the corporate. I mean, that's true. Some of it is the locations. And again, we have a variety of locations. I mean, it's not just hotels for us, it's restaurants as well. So, you know, it's about consolidating together, and that's why I said slicing it up in the right mechanism for those that need it in the right way they want to absorb it, not the way I want to give it to them. So there's pieces and pockets of that, but yes, it's requests from top and bottom.
Okay, good. Tina, we'll go backwards through to you next.
We actually have quite a few initiatives for the next year. Starts with a good solution for the physical check payment process. One of our, I think it's called revenue optimization team, has been developed. And so what they're going to do is utilize virtual one-time payment credit cards for our vendors. And so the big push is going to get as many vendors as possible set up on that platform so that, one, we reduce our labor. Of course, our checks and stamps and envelope costs will go away. The vendors will get their payment pretty much immediately, so they'll have a timely payment. They won't have to go to the bank, so it's a benefit for them. And then on top of all of that is that because of the credit card payment processing fee that the third party will collect, Aimbridge will receive a rebate, so that will also help offset some of our costs in our AP department. So that's on for those vendors that do not want to do the virtual payment card. We're going to do ACH payments. Again, a little bit more expensive than the virtual credit card, but definitely a cost savings for our physical check. So that is the payment processing part. The other initiative that is happening as well is for our AP invoices. We are migrating to a scanning process where we're utilizing, again, a third-party company that will have a virtual scan of each invoice and fill in the blanks. Basically, the system will learn the type of invoice, fill in the vendor, the coding, the amounts, and process the invoice basically automated without having a person key in all of that data for every invoice. And so that is coming hopefully by the end of next year. And then a third initiative is that we're looking to automate our bank reconciliations and our balance sheet reconciliations, where software will automatically reconcile each account. And then our teams can use more of the knowledge to determine the unreconcilable items instead of just the ticking and tying, taking that time away from them and utilizing it for better resources. And so that is another initiative for this year. So we are going to be very busy.
You are going to be very busy.
Yes.
But it'll be in such a better place when you get to this time next year, right? And you kind of have all these tools in place to just become even more efficient. So excellent.
Yes. Thank you.
And they're going down the path with that credit card. I got the email yesterday as one of your vendors, so definitely,
Yes,
that one's
we
definitely
are.
rolling along. Yeah, that's good to see. So
Yep.
awesome. All right, Emad, let's go to you next.
Yeah, so a lot of the same things again that we're working on. So one of the things that wasn't mentioned was on our side, we do have several different accounting systems in place at our various properties. So trying to get those standardized and everyone on the same platform, whether it's the same software or whether it's the same hosting solution for that software is going to be key, because again, standardization and automation helps us long-term in managing it. Along the same lines, earlier this year, or actually last year, what we did start is implementation of automated balance sheet reconciliations. So using a third-party software to be able to work with that, and that's going to be a goal going forward, and it's been going really well so far. So that's something we'll have hopefully in the majority of our properties by the end of next year. And then further implementation of electronic payments, and whether that's as Tina mentioned with the credit cards or with B4B or ACH payments, those are all opportunities for us, as well as going back to our previous question with further automation and integration between systems to help with our daily income audits, because that's one of the places where there is a lot of manual effort involved.
Yeah, awesome. Excellent. Okay, and Renee? I know you have a long list.
Well, there's so much. I mean, yes, document management, automated payments, e-banking, like Emad said. But, something I'm really passionate about, our focus now is, which I've talked about before, is the integrations, right? Like I really want to automate integrations because, as we've moved to, this is enabled by two things. Is number one, now we have a global code block, right? I'm getting all of our systems on the same code block. So we have less of this complicated mapping or translation between systems because, the account was different, or, the hotel unique identifier was a different naming convention, right? So we've been able to kind of simplify, the mappings between systems now that they're on the new code block. But also as we've moved obviously to cloud and moved things above property, that enables us to automate the integrations between the systems. So, one of my big focuses right now is automating those integrations in and out of the general ledger system, and reducing those downloaded files and uploading of them. Like the budget file, we still have some properties that download the budget and then upload it to the general ledger system. And we've been working to automate that interface and getting that in place for all of our properties, as well as some of the other integrations in and out. So I'm really passionate about reducing those manual touch points between systems and just moving files automatically.
You've been doing some work with purchasing system automations as well, as not having to have all those invoices manually moved over and manually moved up as well. So that actually probably helps with your whole payment cycle also, right through the whole AP process. And I know you guys do that too, so.
That'd be a whole other hour on document management.
So, okay, awesome. So, yep, so it's really kind of interesting to hear that most of you are having priorities as it relates to system integration, right? Making all of your systems talk to each other and then automating those manual processes that can be automated. And any simplified almost machine learning, right? So a couple of you mentioned working with reconciliation and balance sheet reconciliation. And so that that tool that you're referring to, at least one of you is referring to Blackline, right? Which is another tool that has automated. I think Aimbridge, you have that too, right? Aimbridge and Four Seasons. Oh, and Hilton, you guys use Blackline as well, though not as extensively just quite yet. But really helpful to be able to have that that automated process in place, right? So if it's a simple reconciliation and it can just be automated and let it reconcile itself, let it do that and move on. So interesting to see that trend is definitely continuing throughout the industry. And definitely, I think that that when COVID brought this up and we all kind of reduction in force, we all suddenly started looking for ways to automate and innovate some of our processes. So really appreciate your feedback in regards to all of that. So, okay. Let's see. So I think that we had another question that came in that said, actually, how did you get buy-in from the vendors for automated payments? And so I guess let's start with, so Tina, you're actually just going through that now. Are you having challenges, or how are you getting buy-in from your vendors in regards to providing the information and getting, you know, signed up for payment automation?
We are just starting the process, but I've done it in a previous life. And so basically, usually the third party that is handling the process actually does the dirty work for you, and they reach out to the vendor and they're good about selling the service and doing an absolutely amazing job. Of course, the mom and pop type vendors will never probably capture those, but for the bigger vendors, as long as they get the information that they need and understand that they're getting paid quickly, they buy in pretty quick. And so over the past year we merged with Interstate, and they actually did it last year. And so they saw a huge improvement in the return on the vendors participating in the process, as the third party does all the work. And of course, when they talk to vendors, talk to our accounting team, we of course sell it on as a benefit to them, and they don't have to go to the bank, and they don't have to pay for the fees of the bank, and it's immediately at their account. So usually the facilitator will do that work for you, so you don't have to go through that painful process of trying to be a salesperson.
Absolutely, absolutely. And Emad, you've done that at Four Seasons as well, and you've done both the virtual credit card that Tina was talking about, and you also have ACH payment automations. Have you seen a preference from your vendors one way or the other, or you've seen any challenges with that, or what can you tell us about the differences in regards to response?
You know what, to be honest, I can't really tell you either way. Both of those started on before I started overseeing the systems, and they've been kind of in place. So during the ramp up period, I wasn't familiar with how that was going. But it's a mixed bag. And just as Tina said, where you have the bigger vendors who are more open to looking at working with credit cards, whereas, you know, the smaller local vendors would have trouble making any changes to how they want to process things.
Okay. I guess, Victoria, we want to open up at this point. We have a couple of minutes left to any additional questions that might be coming in from the audience.
Okay. So if you have a question for our panel, please unmute and ask your question, or you can put it in the chat and we will ask on your behalf. Okay, so we have a question that is coming in. What is the name of the virtual card vendor?
On the Aimbridge side, this is Tina, we are currently using CSI, and then we are actually going to be migrating to Chase. Chase actually has a virtual credit card program as well.
Same thing on the Four Seasons side. We're working with CSI currently.
And just to add, CSI is very well known in the hospitality industry, and so they already have a lot of relationships with the vendors that most of us use across the board. So they know their stuff, so they're pretty good.
Does anybody have anything to add on pre-opening expenses? That was something that came in on the RSVPs. Okay, we also have a question coming in about what is the name of the OCR scanning app that you're using?
She's talking about invoice processing, correct?
Yes.
Okay, we use something. We're in the midst of implementing something called OnBase. I think it's a company by MTI puts it up.
Thank you, Wendy. We also have another question regarding automating AP processes. Can someone describe the process and how was the transition with departments and the overall expense approval process?
So maybe I could step in there. When we started doing it, it was definitely a big learning curve for everyone because first of all, everyone is used to using a particular system and they had been using it for several years. And then moving on to an online cloud solution to be able to process first our purchase orders and go through the approval processes through there, and then having build those integrations and have them moving directly to our back office accounting system. It's a continued effort to be able to fine tune that. And, you know, just earlier this week, we were in touch with an issue that came up where one property in particular is coming up with certain errors and trying to just re-educate them and going through the processes. So it helps, and but it takes time to be able to get everyone up to speed and understand how exactly it works, and just to take advantage of it.
Okay, and we had another question come in. What systems do you recommend for a virtual approval process for AP workflow?
So we use Bird Street for our procurement system, as our procurement system. So it's cloud-based. All the purchase orders and processing goes through there, and then AP is processed and goes to our Sun system.
Okay, so we are nearing the end of our time here. So I wanted to just round back to you, Gayle, for any final comments from the panel.
Oh, thanks, Victoria. So I think we're just really thankful to have had an opportunity to meet with everyone today and talk a little bit about some of the challenges we've all faced. I think Victoria's got my contact information up there on the screen. So if anyone has any questions or challenges or issues that maybe PAS can help you with, please feel free to reach out. We're happy just to talk if you want to talk through some thoughts or ideas as well. But we're just really grateful for your time today.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you for having us.
Thank you for not beating up on me.
I want to thank all our panel participants today. I think it's important to keep these dialogues open, and it's really good to have you all participate in the HFTP webinar. And thank you so much for PAS to sponsor this webinar for us today. On October 1st at 1 p.m. Central Time, Paymerang is sponsoring an Are Your Business Payments Safe? So please look on our webinar page at hftp.org to register for that. And Cyber High Tech is rapidly approaching and scheduled for October 27th through 29th, and registration is now open. Thank you again as we close today's HFTP's webinar, and we hope to see you at the next one. Bye.
Thank you. Take care.
Thanks, everyone. Have a good day.
Stay safe.
Bye-bye.
Bye.